Hey y'all! It's your favorite realtors here, Courtney and Alicia, and today we're diving into one of the biggest relocation questions we get.
Should I move to South Carolina
or Florida?
Both are sunny southern states with palm trees, beaches, and golf carts galore. But there are some pretty big differences when it comes to your wallet, your weather, and your lifestyle.
So let's break it all down, from taxes and insurance to veterans benefits and cost of living, and also how many hurricanes you're going to have to deal with.
Wait, are we weather people now?
Hey y'all! Welcome to Charleston. We're so glad you're here. I'm Courtney Cretley.
And I'm Alicia Smith, and we're your favorite realtors. Please like and subscribe to our channel,
where we're going to show you all things Charleston.
Let's start with something really important, veterans benefits, Florida versus South Carolina. Spoiler, there are some big similarities and key differences.
First, the easy part, federal VA loan benefits are the same regardless of which state you're in. That means no down payment, no private mortgage insurance, and competitive interest rates.
Right? That's huge. But what about state level perks?
In Florida, veterans can get closing cost assistance through programs like Hometown Heroes, offering up to 5% of the loan. Plus, Florida offers property tax exemptions for veterans with service-connected disabilities and full exemptions if you're 100% permanently disabled.
South Carolina also has property tax exemptions for 100% disabled veterans, and their housing finance programs can offer interest rate breaks or closing cost assistance. So similar perks, but the structure is a little different.
Right. And one additional twist, Florida has no state income tax. So retirement or VA disability income isn't taxed. South Carolina doesn't tax VA disability income either, but regular income tax still applies.
So both states are veteran friendly.
Yes, bottom line, the VA loan is your foundation and each state adds perks on top of that. It just depends which lifestyle and benefits fit you best. Next up, insurance. This is where a lot of people start rethinking Florida.
So we get this question all the time. Why is home insurance so much higher in Florida than it is in South Carolina? And honestly, it's a great question, especially if you're considering the two states.
Right, so let's start with the big picture. Homeowners insurance in South Carolina averages between $2,300 and $3,100 per year. Meanwhile, in Florida, insurance rates average between $2,600 and $6,000 per year. Sometimes it's even higher in certain areas. So Florida can generally be more expensive and sometimes significantly so.
Yeah, so one thing people need to really understand is it comes down to more about the location than it does the two state names.
Exactly. And in South Carolina, inland areas like Columbia and Somerville will tend to have lower insurance premiums than coastal cities like Charleston and Myrtle Beach. And in Florida, coastal and high-risk hurricane areas, think Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Tampa, will have insurance costs jump dramatically.
So why does Florida usually cost so much more?
Three main reasons: hurricanes, and hurricanes.
Seriously though, Florida faces more frequent and severe storms, which are ultimately going to drive up claims, reinsurance costs, and premiums.
Right. Plus, Florida's insurance market has been volatile. Some companies have pulled out or limited coverage, which means fewer options and higher prices.
South Carolina also deals with hurricanes, but generally less frequently and less intensely than Florida. That keeps insurance more affordable overall, especially for those not living right on the coast.
And one thing buyers don't always expect is that flood insurance is usually separate in both states. So if you're in a flood zone, especially near the coast, you'll want to factor flood insurance in on top of your homeowner's policy.
So what's the takeaway?
If you're comparing South Carolina and Florida, South Carolina almost always wins on insurance affordability. But your exact cost could depend on the location, age, roof type, elevation, and even things like storm shutters.
Our advice is to always get an insurance quote before you go under contract, especially if you're moving from out of state. And if you're between Florida and South Carolina, insurance costs should absolutely be a part of that conversation.
And if you want help figuring out what those costs could look like, especially here in South Carolina, we'd love to help. So now to the big money topic, taxes.
As if.
So Florida has no state income tax. That's one of its big selling points. But South Carolina's state income tax is dropping, and there are some pretty big benefits for retirees and homeowners.
So South Carolina's individual income tax currently ranges from 0% up to 6% for higher incomes. But importantly, South Carolina is moving toward a zero income tax. So there's proposed legislation that would cut the top rate and move toward a flat low rate and eventually elimination.
So retirement income. South Carolina does not tax Social Security benefits. And for other retirement income, South Carolina allows a deduction for this retirement income. For example, for those who are 65 and older, non-military retirement income deduction is about $10,000.
So while Florida does not have vehicle property taxes, South Carolina does. So South Carolina treats vehicles as personal property similar to real estate.
So each year, the county where you live assesses the tax on your vehicles. And that could be based on the fair market value of the vehicle type, so if it's a car, a truck, a motorcycle, and the county tax rate where the vehicle is registered.
Yeah, and you must pay these vehicle property taxes before you can renew your registration or your license plate.
Right. And for property tax and home savings, so South Carolina offers the homestead exemption. Once you're 65 or older, or if you're permanently disabled or legally blind, you can take the first $50,000 of the home's fair market value off when calculating your property taxes.
Also, South Carolina's effective property tax rate for owner-occupied housing is very low, only about 0.46% of home value on average. So let's give a property tax example.
Yeah.
So if you're living in Berkeley County and your home is valued at around $500,000, you're looking at approximately $2,000 a year for property taxes.
Right.
So very low.
So while Florida may win on zero income tax, South Carolina is closing the gap fast. And for retirees or homeowners, the total picture can be even more appealing in South Carolina.
Now let's talk weather, because that's a big factor for both.
So Florida is famous for its sunshine, but with that comes year-round humidity, intense summer heat, and higher risks of hurricanes and flooding.
While South Carolina does get pretty hot, there are more seasonal change here. So you're going to get milder falls, cooler winters, and some crisp spring days that Floridians miss out on.
Right. So while South Carolina can still face tropical storms and hurricanes, generally the risk and intensity are much lower than they are in Florida. And if you want warm weather without feeling like you live in a sauna 12 months out of the year, then South Carolina wins this one.
And both the hurricanes and the alligators are bigger in Florida.
Here's something people forget. South Carolina offers both beaches and mountains.
Florida, it offers beaches, and more beaches. It's beautiful, but it's flat and tropical almost everywhere and very heavy water focus.
South Carolina, on the other hand, is surprisingly diverse for its size. You can go from Charleston's coastline to hiking trails in the Blue Ridge Mountains near Greenville in the upstate in just a few hours.
Yeah. Florida definitely offers big city energy from places like Miami, Tampa, and Orlando, while South Carolina leans more into charm, history, and smaller downtowns with local character.
So if you like a little variety, mountain weekends, lake houses, or a cozy fall season, South Carolina offers that balance. And you can even head up to North Carolina if you're craving to see snow. South Carolina, you still get beautiful coastal living, but with a stronger sense of community and everyday livability.
So who tends to love Florida?
People who want year-round warmth, beach access, resort amenities, and an active, high-energy lifestyle.
And South Carolina is great for people who want options. So beach weekends, mountain day trips, 4 seasons, just lighter and a more affordable, grounded lifestyle.
Florida's amazing if you want that vacation style, water first lifestyle.
And South Carolina is perfect if you want more geographic variety, charm, and just a pace of life that's easier to settle into long term.
So if you're trying to decide between the two, geography and lifestyle should be just as important as cost.
Yep. And if you want help figuring out which one is going to fit your lifestyle best, that's what we're here for.
Let's talk schools, Florida versus South Carolina, because yes, your kid's future might just depend on it, or at least your sanity.
Florida has lots of high-performing districts, and graduation rates are 90% or more.
But hey, South Carolina's catching up with graduation rates around 84%, plus smaller class sizes. So your kid might just get noticed instead of lost in a crowd.
And Florida can feel like a lottery. You hope your district is top-notch, where South Carolina, you've got fewer lottery vibes, more steady improvement, and maybe a little bit more charm.
So bottom line, don't pick a state, pick a district. Unless you like surprises, then Florida's fun.
Either way, both states have schools that can make your kids smarter or just keep them busy while you enjoy your coffee.
So if you're moving with family or planning for long-term community growth, do your homework, get it? Before choosing a district in either state.
And as far as communities go, Florida communities vary dramatically by location.
Coastal and resort areas like Miami, Naples, or Fort Lauderdale tend to have a more fast-paced, transient, and tourism-driven lifestyle. Snowbirds and seasonal residents mean neighbors change often.
Oh, hi. Wait a minute. Who are you?
Suburban areas like Orlando, Jacksonville, Tampa tend to have more family-oriented neighborhoods, but some can feel more sprawling and maybe less connected.
And South Carolina overall is going to offer more stability, close-knit communities, especially in those smaller town and suburban areas.
Right, so coastal towns like Charleston or Hilton Head, they have a charming, historic vibe with active local events and strong neighbor connections. And Midlands and the upstate areas like Greenville, Somerville, and Columbia, they offer more of a suburban neighborhood where community engagement is common. Think like farmers markets and festivals and like local schools as hubs.
Yeah, so in summary, so Florida, you've got snowbirds that come and go like clockwork.
South Carolina, your neighbors stick around all year, whether you like it or not. When it comes to retirement living, South Carolina is booming.
Places like Somerville, Charleston, Bluffton, Hilton Head, and Beaufort have some beautiful retirement communities, many offering golf, nature trails, and coastal vibes without Florida's overcrowding.
Plus, those retirement tax benefits that we talked about earlier make South Carolina a favorite among retirees looking to stretch their income a little further.
In the beaches, you've got Myrtle Beach, Folly Beach, Sullivan's Island, Isle of Palms, Hilton Head. They're stunning and less crowded than many of the Florida hotspots where you still get that relaxed coastal vibe.
Right, and if retirement's on your mind, South Carolina can feel like a real sweet spot.
So let's break down the cost of living in South Carolina versus Florida because this comes up all the time.
At a high level, South Carolina is usually more affordable, but the reasons matter.
Home prices in South Carolina tend to be lower, especially once you're outside of those coastal cities.
And homeowners insurance is a big one. Insurance costs are significantly higher in Florida due to hurricanes and market instability.
Property taxes, like we talked about earlier, are lower in South Carolina, even though South Carolina does have the vehicle property tax and Florida doesn't.
Florida doesn't have a state income tax, which is a plus, but that savings can easily be offset by things like higher insurance and higher HOA costs.
How much do I owe you?
AC said 10%.
Too bad AC ain't in charge no more.
And just housing costs in general.
When it comes to everyday expenses, South Carolina's cost of living is generally lower. So housing, utilities, even gas and groceries tend to be lower, especially when you're outside of those tourist zones.
Yeah, and the real difference usually shows up in those housing related costs.
So if affordability is your top priority, then South Carolina often wins.
Florida doesn't have state income tax, but then your homeowner's insurance says, don't worry, I got this.
Florida has higher demand and more seasonal influxes. So those snowbird months can mean crowded roads, packed restaurants, and higher prices in hot spots. So if you want more space, fewer crowds, and more value for your money, then South Carolina checks those boxes.
So who wins, South Carolina or Florida?
Honestly, it depends on what you value most.
If you love the tropical lifestyle and don't mind the heat, then Florida might be your match.
But if you're looking for affordability, variety, a touch of seasons, and a slower pace of life, then South Carolina might surprise you.
Either way, both offer sunshine, community, and that southern charm. But South Carolina just might give you a lot more for less.
Thanks for watching. And if you're thinking about moving to South Carolina or just want to explore what life could look like here, then hit that subscribe button, drop your questions in the comments.
We'd love to help you find your perfect place in the Palmetto State.
My house with mommy.
Yeah, that's right. Buy a house with mommy. Bye, y'all. Oh, it's my turn. Sorry. Okay, go. I left you hanging. Sorry. Okay.
I was like, wait, what's happening? Have some beautiful retirement communities.
Okay, start over.
Okay.
So bottom line, pick a state. Don't pick a state, pick a
Yeah.
district. Sounds like a nutcracker.
And graduation.
Start
Graduation rate.
Oh la la. Okay, wait. Start this page over. Ready? Dang it. Okay, so I'm going to start over this part, and I'll just cut into snow or something. I don't know.
It's beautiful, but it's flat and tropical almost everywhere, and very water focused.
And I almost interrupted you. I'm sorry. I
Cut
got
off
that
the
on
top
record.
half. I can't even deal with myself. Okay, my mom texted. She must have told me that even.
And if you want help figuring out what these costs could look like for specific areas, especially
We
in
got a
South
guy for
Carolina,
that.
we got a guy for that. Okay. Mm-hmm. Oh no.
Boy.
Bees you.
People don't realize how hard this is.
YouTube is easy, they say. Okay.